The words hit like daggers across the dining room table. "What a waste of potential," Laurel said, not even bothering to lower her voice. "All that education, that big house, and no children to fill it. I'm Violet, and at 35, I've learned to steel myself against my family's judgment. But something about today felt different. Maybe it was the way Hugo nodded along with Laurel's words, or how Aunt Margaret's lips pressed into that familiar, disapproving line. "Pass the potatoes, please," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. The annual family reunion at grandmother's house had become an exercise in endurance. "You know, Vi," Hugo chimed in, swirling his wine glass, "my Sarah just had her third. Nothing compares to the joy of family." "I have family," I replied, gesturing around the table. "Right here." Laurel snorted. "That's not the same and you know it. You can't take your career to Christmas morning or hold it when you're old." I felt Alison's hand squeeze my knee under the table. Thank God she'd agreed to come as my +1. The room felt suffocating, with its dated wallpaper and generations of family photos watching from every wall. "Actually," I started, but Laurel wasn't finished. "Remember when we were little and you used to play house? What happened to that little girl who wanted a family of her own?" "She grew up and realized there's more than one way to make a difference," I said, pushing my chair back. "Excuse me, I need some air." As I headed toward the garden, I heard Hugo's voice. Always so dramatic. "This is why children need both parents. Gives them stability." The evening air hit my face like a blessing. I found myself at the old oak tree, the same one I'd climbed countless times as a child. Alison appeared beside me, offering a glass of wine. "They're awful," she said simply. "They're family." I took a long sip. "Sometimes I wonder if those two concepts are mutually exclusive." "You know what the real waste is?" Alison leaned against the tree. "The energy you spend caring what they think." Before I could respond, Valerie, the only cousin who'd ever shown me any kindness, stepped out onto the porch. "Vi, grandmother's asking for you. Time for the family photo." I smoothed my dress and plastered on a smile. "Coming." Back inside, grandmother sat in her favourite armchair, surrounded by great-grandchildren. Laurel's kids were front and centre, of course. As everyone arranged themselves, I found myself pushed to the back. "Violet, dear," grandmother called out, "why don't you stand behind Hugo? We can barely see you anyway." I caught Laurel's smirk as I moved into position. The photographer counted down, and just before the flash, Hugo whispered, "At least you won't have to worry about inheritance fights with your kids." The camera clicked, capturing my forced smile for posterity, another perfect family moment for the wall. Later, as dessert was being served, I escaped to the study. The room still smelled like grandfather's pipe tobacco, though he'd been gone 5 years. I found myself staring out the window at the city lights below, wondering what he would have thought of all this. "They mean well, you know," came a voice behind me. It was Edmund, my father's old friend and business partner. "They just don't understand people who choose different paths. Do they have to understand?" I turned to face him. "Couldn't they just accept?" Edmund's weathered face creased with sympathy. "Sometimes people's criticism says more about their own insecurities than your choices." A burst of laughter from the dining room made me wince. Laurel's voice carried above the others, regaling everyone with stories of her daughter's dance recital. "I should get back," I said, but Edmund caught my arm. "Your grandfather used to say something about family trees," he said, "that the strongest ones have branches growing in all directions." He paused. "He was proud of you, Vi. Never doubt that." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. As I returned to the dining room, Laurel was collecting her children's coats. "Leaving so soon?" I asked, more out of politeness than curiosity. "Some of us have school runs in the morning," she replied. "But hey, you wouldn't know about that, would you?" I watched them file out, Hugo and his family close behind. The house felt emptier, but somehow less suffocating. Through the window, I could see them loading into their minivans, their perfect nuclear families intact. But as I stood there, something shifted inside me. Their words, instead of crushing me, began to feel like fuel for something else, something bigger than their narrow definition of family. I just didn't know what that something was. Yet. You need to stop letting them live rent-free in your head, Alison said, pushing a steaming mug of coffee across her kitchen counter. 3 days had passed since the family reunion, and I still couldn't shake the hollow feeling in my chest. I know, but... No buts, Alison cut me off. Let's get out of here. The park's beautiful this time of year, and you need vitamin D more than you need another coffee. 20 minutes later, we were walking through Memorial Park, fallen leaves crunching under our feet. Children's laughter drifted from the playground, and for once it didn't feel like an accusation. I just wish I could show them that my life has meaning, I said, kicking at a pile of leaves. That I'm not just A soccer ball rolled into my path, followed by a teenage girl with wild curly hair. Sorry? She called out, scooping up the ball. Something in her eyes caught my attention, a familiar kind of loneliness. No problem, I smiled. Great day for soccer. Yeah, when you have someone to play with, she replied, glancing back at an empty field. I'm Michaela. The other kids from the home were supposed to come, but... She shrugged. The home? Alison asked. Grace House. It's okay, as group homes go, but they're understaffed today. Again. Michaela tucked the ball under her arm. Most of the little ones had to stay back. Before I could respond, a harried-looking woman in a worn cardigan hurried over. Michaela, there you are. We need to head back. Sarah's having another anxiety attack. But Ms. Roberts, you promised we could stay an hour. Michaela's voice cracked slightly. I've been good all week. I'm sorry, sweetie, we just don't have enough staff today to... I could stay with her, I heard myself say. I mean, if that's allowed. I'm Violet. And this is Alison. We could keep an eye on her while she plays. Ms. Roberts hesitated, studying us. Do you have experience with children? I run my own business, I said. Background checks, references. I can provide whatever you need. After a quick verification of my ID and a few phone calls, Ms. Roberts agreed to let Michaela stay under our supervision. The girl's face lit up like Christmas morning. Want to play? She asked, holding up the ball. I'm pretty good. For the next hour, we kicked the ball around, talked and laughed. Michaela told us about life at Grace House, the good parts and the bad, about dreams of college and becoming a doctor, about younger kids who needed more attention than the overwhelmed staff could provide. Sometimes, she said, sitting cross-legged in the grass, the little ones cry at night because they miss having someone to read them stories. Ms. Roberts tries, but she can't be everywhere at once. Alison shot me a knowing look. Vi, you're doing that thing with your face. What thing? The thing you do when you're about to change someone's life. I ignored her, focused on Michaela. How many children are at Grace House? 23 right now. It's over capacity, but where else can they go? She picked at the grass. Some of the older kids help out, but it's not the same as having actual family. The word family hit differently now. I thought about my empty house, my resources, my need to prove something to Laurel and Hugo, but this wasn't about them anymore. What if... I started slowly. What if there was a place? Not just a house, but a real home, with enough staff and resources to give every child the attention they deserve. Michaela's eyes widened. You mean like a better group home? More than that. A sanctuary, where kids could feel safe, loved, supported. The idea was taking shape in my mind. With programs, education, counselling. Vi, Alison interrupted. Are you thinking what I think you're thinking? I have the means, I said. The connections. The space. My voice grew stronger with each word. Edmund's been telling me to diversify my investments. What better investment than this? Michaela looked between us, hope and skepticism warring on her face. People always talk about making things better, but nothing changes. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through contacts. Watch me. That evening, I sat in my home office surrounded by preliminary research. Licensing requirements, funding structures, staffing needs. The challenges were daunting, but for the first time in years, I felt truly alive. My phone buzzed. A text from Laurel. Hope you're not too lonely in that big empty house. Sarah's recital this weekend. You should come see what real fulfillment looks like. I smiled and set the phone aside without responding. On my computer screen, property listings for potential sanctuary locations filled the browser. Empty houses could be filled with more than just traditional families. They could be filled with purpose. And maybe, just maybe, that was the best revenge of all. A children's sanctuary. Edmund leaned back in his leather chair, studying the business plan I'd laid on his desk. That's ambitious. I've done the math, I said, pulling out more documents. With my savings and the right investors. The right investors might be hard to find. He tapped his pen against the desk. Children's homes aren't exactly known for their profit margins. This isn't about profit. I leaned forward. You should see these kids, Edmund. They need more than just a roof and basic care. Edmund's expression softened. I know that look, Vi. Your grandfather had the same one when he started his first company. He picked up my proposal again. But you'll need more than passion. You'll need money, I finished. That's why I'm meeting Hugo at the bank today. Edmund's eyebrows shot up. Hugo? Your cousin Hugo? He's the loan officer at First National. I don't have a choice. Just be careful, Edmund warned. Family and business can be a volatile mix. 2 hours later, I sat across from Hugo in his sterile office, watching him flip through my proposal with an increasingly skeptical expression. So, he said finally, you want to borrow $2 million to build a glorified orphanage? A sanctuary, I corrected, with educational programs, therapy services, and… Vi, he interrupted. Let's be real. You're having some sort of crisis because the family's been pressuring you about kids. This has nothing to do with that. Really? He closed the folder. Because it looks like you're trying to prove something. Playing mother to other people's unwanted children won't fill that void. I gripped the arms of my chair. They're not unwanted, they're underserved, and this isn't about filling voids, it's about creating something meaningful. Meaningful? Hugo laughed. You want meaningful? Have your own kids. Build a real family. This? He tapped the folder. This is just expensive therapy. Are you rejecting my application? I'm trying to help you, he said, his voice dripping with condescension. As family. This plan isn't viable, the risk assessment alone. Save it. I stood up, gathering my papers. I'll find another way. Vi, wait. Hugo's voice stopped me at the door. You know what your problem is. You've always tried to be different just for the sake of being different. But sometimes, tradition exists for a reason. I turned back. You know what your problem is, Hugo? You've never understood that family can mean more than blood. The slam of his office door behind me was satisfying, but my hands were shaking as I reached my car. I pulled out my phone and dialed Edmund. That bad? He asked. Worse? I started the engine. But I'm not giving up. There has to be another way. Come back to my office. I might have some ideas. An hour later, I sat with Edmund and his network of contacts on speakerphone. The conversation jumped between funding options, property considerations, and licensing requirements. The old Riverside Manor could work, one voice suggested. It's been on the market for months, and the owner's motivated to sell. And I know some people at the Thompson Foundation, another added. They've been looking to fund innovative social projects. Edmund scribbled notes. See, Vi, there's always another path. As the call ended, my phone buzzed with a text from Laurel. Hugo told me about your little project. Getting desperate much? I showed Edmund the message. He shook his head. Don't let them distract you. Focus on what matters. I am. I pulled up the photo of Michaela I'd taken at the park. This matters. All of them matter. Then let's make it happen. Edmund started writing names. I'll set up meetings with potential donors. You focus on the property and licensing requirements. Edmund? I hesitated. Why are you helping me? He smiled. Because 30 years ago, your grandfather helped me when everyone said my ideas were too risky. Sometimes the best legacies aren't the ones we're born into, but the ones we choose to build. As I drove home that evening, I passed families in parks, on sidewalks, in restaurant windows. Each scene used to feel like a reminder of what I lacked. Now they felt like inspiration for what I could create. My phone buzzed again. Hugo. Hope you're not too disappointed about the loan. Some dreams aren't meant to come true. I pulled into my driveway looking at my too-quiet house. Tomorrow I'd start the paperwork for Riverside Manor. I'd meet with the Thompson Foundation. I'd prove that dreams don't need anyone's permission to come true. And maybe, just maybe, I'd show Hugo, Laurel, and everyone else that family isn't about who you're born to. It's about who you choose to fight for. Welcome to Hope Haven. I stood in front of the renovated Riverside Manor, watching as Michaela's eyes widened at the sight of the freshly painted walls and new playground equipment. This is really happening? She asked, clutching her backpack. We're really moving in today? You and 7 others to start, I nodded. Once we get our systems in place, we'll be able to take in more. Ms. Roberts emerged from the van with 2 smaller children clinging to her legs. It's beautiful, Violet. I can't believe you did all this in 6 months. She had help, Edmund called from the front steps, where he was directing movers with furniture. Lots of it. The Thompson Foundation had come through with matching funds. Local businesses donated supplies. Volunteers painted walls and assembled furniture. Even Valerie had secretly contributed, though she made me promise not to tell Laurel or Hugo. Can I see my room? Michaela asked. Our room, piped up Sophie, a 7-year-old with missing front teeth. Ms. Violet said we get to be roommates. As we toured the house, I watched the children's faces light up at each discovery. The library with reading nooks, the art room with endless supplies, the kitchen where they could learn to cook, each space designed to feel like home, not an institution. And this, I said, opening a door, is the homework centre, complete with tutors 3 times a week. Trying to turn them all into workaholics like you? Laurel's voice cut through the excitement. She stood in the doorway, designer purse clutched tight. What are you doing here? I asked, instinctively stepping between her and the children. Charity board meeting nearby. Thought I'd see this project for myself. Her eyes swept the room dismissively. Quite a lot of money to spend on other people's problems. Before I could respond, Michaela stepped forward. We're not problems. We're people. Laurel blinked, clearly not expecting resistance. Of course, dear. I just meant... I know what you meant, Michaela continued, but Ms. Violet sees us as family, not charity cases. Family? Laurel laughed. Sweetie, real family shows up, Sophie interrupted, grabbing my hand, like Ms. Violet does. I squeezed her hand, fighting back tears. Laurel, if you're not here to support what we're doing, I'll have to ask you to leave. Fine. She adjusted her purse, but don't come crying to me when this all falls apart. After she left, Edmund found me in my office, staring at the family photo from the reunion. You okay? Better than okay, I said, turning to the window. Below, Michaela was teaching Sophie how to use the swing set. Look at them, Edmund. They're already becoming a family. Speaking of family, he handed me an envelope. Your grandmother's been asking about you. Inside was an invitation to Laurel's daughter's Sweet 16, another family gathering to endure. You don't have to go, Edmund said. Actually, I do. I smiled. Because next week we're hosting our first community dinner here and I want to invite everyone, including Laurel and Hugo. Are you sure that's wise? A knock at the door interrupted us. It was Ms. Roberts. Violet, the kids want to know if you'll join them for movie night. They're voting on what to watch. In the common room, children sprawled across couches and floor cushions. They made space for me in the middle, immediately pulling me into their debate between animation and superheroes. Both have happy endings, Sophie declared. Like us. Later that night, after tucking in the younger ones and checking on the teens, I found Michaela in the library. Can't sleep? I asked. Just thinking, she said, about what your cousin said, about real family. Hey, I sat beside her. Don't let her... No, it's not that. Michaela smiled. I was thinking she's wrong. Family isn't just who you're born to, it's who makes you feel like you belong. My phone buzzed. Another text from Laurel. Hope your experiment in playing Mommy makes you happy. Sarah's party next week. Don't forget to bring a nice gift. I looked at Michaela, then at the text. Want to help me plan something special for next week? I think it's time to show my family what we've built here. A revenge party? She grinned. No, I laughed. More like a revelation party. Sometimes the best way to change minds is to open hearts first. Outside, the sunset painted the sanctuary in warm colours. Children's laughter echoed through the halls. And for the first time in my life, I felt completely, utterly at home. This wasn't the family I was born into. It was the family I chose to create. And somehow, that made it even more real. Is my tie straight? Asked Tommy, one of our newest residents, fidgeting with his collar in the mirror. The grand ballroom of the city's finest hotel buzzed with activity as we prepared for Hope Haven's 10th anniversary gala. Perfect, I assured him, smoothing his shoulders. Ready to give your speech? What if I mess up? His 13-year-old face creased with worry. Then you'll have a funny story to tell, Michaela said, now 26 and serving as our program director. Like the time Ms. Violet tripped during our first fundraiser. That was your fault, I laughed. You left your backpack in the aisle. The ballroom doors opened and guests began flowing in. Local business leaders, donors, supporters. And yes, family. I spotted Hugo first, his hair now streaked with grey. Valerie came next, giving me a subtle thumbs up. Then Laurel, looking somewhat diminished compared to her usual commanding presence. Violet, Edmund approached, champagne in hand. The place is packed. The Thompson Foundation just pledged another $1 million for the expansion. Before I could respond, Tommy tugged my sleeve. Ms. Violet, they're ready for the speeches. I took the stage looking out at the sea of faces. 10 years, over 200 children helped, 40 successful college placements, countless lives changed. When Hope Haven began, I started, someone told me I was trying to fill a void in my life. They were right, but not in the way they thought. The void wasn't in me. It was in our community, in our understanding of what family truly means. I saw Laurel shift uncomfortably in her seat. Tonight, you'll hear from some of our residents, past and present. They'll tell you their stories better than I ever could. But first, a commotion at the back of the room interrupted me. Laurel had stood abruptly, her chair scraping loudly. Her face was streaked with tears as she rushed toward the exit. Continue with the program, I whispered to Michaela, then followed Laurel. I found her in the hotel's garden, mascara running, clutching her phone. Laurel! Don't, she said. Just don't be nice to me right now. I don't deserve it. What's wrong? She laughed bitterly, holding up her phone. Everything. My perfect children? They've emptied their trust funds, gambling, bad investments, parties. It's all gone. And now they're asking for more. I'm sorry, I said, meaning it. You know what's worse? She wiped her eyes. Watching those kids in there, the ones you've helped, they're more responsible, more grateful, more everything than my own children. And it's my fault. I was so busy proving I was the perfect mother that I forgot to actually be one. A cool breeze rustled the garden flowers. From inside, I could hear Tommy beginning his speech. I need your help, Vi, Laurel whispered. Not money. I need to understand how you did it, how you created real family bonds with children who aren't even yours. They are mine, I corrected gently, not by blood but by choice. Every day we choose each other. Will you teach me? Her voice cracked. Help me fix my family? I studied her face, searching for any trace of the old condescension. Instead, I saw only desperation and genuine remorse. Come to the sanctuary next week, I said finally. See how we operate. But Laurel? It won't be easy. Real change never is. I know. She straightened her shoulders. I've spent 10 years judging your choices. Maybe it's time I learned from them instead. Inside, applause erupted. Through the windows, I could see Tommy beaming as Michaela hugged him. We should go back in, I said. They're about to show the video of our first year. Vi, Laurel caught my arm. I know it's too late, but I'm sorry. For everything I said, everything I did. It's never too late for family, I replied. Even the complicated ones. As we returned to the ballroom, Hugo approached, looking uncomfortable. That was quite a speech, Vi. And these kids, he gestured around, they're impressive. They are, I agreed. Would you like to meet some of them? The rest of the evening passed in a blur of testimonials, tears, and triumph. Former residents shared stories of college graduations, career successes, and their own growing families. Current residents performed music they'd learned in our programs. Later, as the crowd thinned, I found myself back on stage, looking at the Hope Haven 10 Years of Family banner. Michaela joined me, bumping my shoulder with hers. Think they finally get it? She asked, nodding toward Laurel and Hugo. Maybe, I said, but that's not why we did this. No, she smiled. We did it because family isn't about who you're born to, it's about who you choose to become. And standing there watching my chosen family mingle with my birth family, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's proving that love can take any form if you're brave enough to let it. You want me to do what? Laurel stood in Hope Haven's kitchen, staring at the volunteer schedule I'd handed her. 3 days a week, 4 hours each day, I said, pouring coffee. That's the minimum commitment we require from all our regular volunteers. But I've never... She gestured vaguely at the industrial-sized kitchen. I have a housekeeper for this sort of thing. Cooking classes are Tuesdays and Thursdays, I continued, ignoring her discomfort. Homework help on Mondays and Wednesdays. Weekend activities include... Violet, she interrupted. I asked for help with my family situation, not a job. This is help. I met her eyes. You want to understand family bonds? Start by creating them. The kitchen door swung open as Sophie, now 17, burst in with a group of younger kids. Ms. Violet! We need more pancake mix for breakfast club tomorrow and, oh! She stopped short at the sight of Laurel. Sophie, you remember my cousin Laurel? I said. She's going to be volunteering with us. Really? Sophie raised an eyebrow, looking exactly like the skeptical 7-year-old I'd first met. Does she know how to make pancakes? Laurel smoothed her designer blouse. I can learn. Perfect, Sophie grinned. You can start by helping us inventory the pantry, unless that's too much manual labor for those nails. I bit back a smile as Laurel examined her fresh manicure. I suppose I could... help. Great! Sophie tossed her an apron. Kids, show Ms. Laurel where everything goes. The younger children swarmed Laurel, pulling her toward the pantry. The look of sheer panic on her face was almost worth 10 years of snide comments. Play nice, I whispered to Sophie as she passed. Always do, she winked, but a little calmer never hurt anyone. Later that afternoon, I found Laurel in my office looking exhausted. Her perfectly styled hair had come loose and there was a smudge of flour on her cheek. Ready to quit? I asked. No, she said, surprising me. But I need to understand something. Those kids in there, they've been through hell. Abandonment, abuse, neglect, yet they're so... Loving? I supplied. Resilient? Happy, she finished. My children have had every advantage, every privilege, and they're miserable. How is that possible? Maybe because these kids don't take family for granted, I said. They build it, day by day, choice by choice. Sarah called while I was in the pantry, Laurel said quietly. Asked for more money. When I said no, she said I was never there anyway. So why start pretending to care now? Were you? Was I what? There, I said. Really there, not just physically present? Laurel's silence was answer enough. A knock at the door saved her from responding. Michaela entered with a stack of papers. Sorry to interrupt, but we need a volunteer for tonight's college prep session. 3 of our seniors are working on applications. I could... Laurel started hesitantly. I did help Sarah with hers. Before she dropped out. Perfect. Michaela handed her a folder. They'll be in the library at 7. Just Maybe leave the designer labels commentary at home this time. After Michaela left, Laurel studied the folder. She doesn't like me much, does she? She remembers you from your first visit, I said. But she also believes in second chances, we all do. Even you? Especially me. I stood up. But Laurel, this only works if you're serious. These kids have been let down enough. I know, she straightened her shoulders. I want to do this right, not just for my kids, but for me too. I've spent so long judging others' choices that I never questioned my own. 7 o'clock, I reminded her. Don't be late. That evening, I watched from the library doorway as Laurel sat with 3 teenagers, helping them craft college essays. Her voice was different, softer, more patient than I'd ever heard it. Ms. Violet? Tommy tugged at my sleeve. Is she really your cousin? She seems nicer than before. People can surprise you, I said. Sometimes they just need a chance to be better than their worst moments. Like us? He asked. Exactly like us. Inside the library, Laurel laughed at something one of the teens said. A real laugh, not her usual polished social titter. For a moment, I glimpsed the girl she'd been before society's expectations had hardened her. My phone buzzed with a text from Hugo. Heard Laurel's playing charity worker now. This should be interesting. I typed back, not charity, family. Because sometimes the hardest person to give a second chance to is yourself. And watching Laurel take her first steps toward change, I realized that maybe this was the real purpose of Hope Haven all along. Not just to build new families, but to heal the broken ones too. Ms. Laurel, you're doing it wrong again, 8-year-old Amy giggled, watching Laurel struggle with the craft supplies. 3 weeks into her volunteer commitment, my cousin sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by glitter and construction paper. Well, how about you show me? Laurel said, handing over the scissors. Her designer clothes had been replaced by jeans and a Hope Haven t-shirt. Her manicure sacrificed to art projects and cooking classes. Like this, Amy demonstrated, carefully cutting along the line. We're making cards for the new kids coming tomorrow. They're always scared at first, so we want them to feel welcome. Were you scared? Laurel asked softly. Terrified, Amy admitted. But then Ms. Violet read me a story and Sophie showed me where to find the best snacks, and Michaela helped me decorate my room. Now it feels like home. I watched Laurel absorb this, seeing the moment it clicked. She reached for another piece of paper, this time cutting with more purpose. Can I tell you a secret? She asked Amy. I was scared coming here too. Really? Why? Because, Laurel glanced up, catching my eye in the doorway. Because I wasn't very nice to Miss Violet before. I was afraid everyone here would hate me. That's silly, Amy declared. Miss Violet says everybody deserves a chance to be better. Before Laurel could respond, Michaela burst into the room. Emergency family meeting! Living room now! We gathered in the main living room, where a tearful Sophie stood clutching her phone. What's wrong? I asked. I got in, Sophie whispered. Full scholarship to medical school. I actually got in. The room erupted in cheers. Kids rushed to hug her, staff members wiped away tears, and Laurel. Laurel stood back, watching it all with an expression I couldn't quite read. Later, during the impromptu celebration dinner, she pulled me aside. I keep thinking about Sarah, she said. She had every opportunity, every advantage. But Sophie, she had nothing. And look at her now. She had everything that mattered, I corrected. Support. Love. People who believed in her. I failed my children, didn't I? Laurel's voice cracked. No, Michaela interrupted, joining us. You just lost your way. But you're here now, trying to find it again. That counts for something. Does it? Laurel asked. After everything I said about this place? About Violet? You know what we learn here? Michaela gestured around the room. That family isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. A commotion by the door drew our attention. Hugo stood there looking uncomfortable in his business suit. I heard about Sarah, he said to Laurel. Thought I'd find you here. Hugo? Laurel started. Save it, he cut her off. Have you lost your mind? Spending your days playing with orphans while your own daughter— They're not orphans, Amy piped up, stepping forward. They're my family, and Ms. Laurel is helping us, which is more than you're doing. Hugo blinked, clearly not used to being challenged by 8-year-olds. She's right, Laurel said quietly. I'm learning more about being a mother here than I ever did at country club lunches or society parties. By making craft projects? Hugo scoffed. By listening, Laurel shot back. By showing up. By understanding that love isn't about what you give, it's about how you give it. Sophie stepped forward, medical school acceptance letter in hand. Mr. Hugo, remember when you told Ms. Violet that her dream wasn't viable, that she was wasting her potential? Hugo shifted uncomfortably. That was business, not— I'm going to be a doctor, Sophie interrupted. Because of this place. Because Ms. Violet saw potential in me when everyone else saw a throwaway kid. So maybe you should think about what viable really means. The room fell silent. Hugo looked around, taking in the handmade decorations, the family photos on the walls, the children's artwork proudly displayed. I should go, he muttered. Stay, I surprised myself by saying. Have dinner with us. See what we do here. Please, Amy added, offering him a glitter-covered welcome card. Hugo stared at the card, then at Laurel in her casual clothes and genuine smile, then at me. One dinner, he said finally, but I'm not making cards. That's okay, Amy grinned. Ms. Laurel's really bad at it too. As laughter filled the room, I watched my cousins, one finding her way back to herself, one taking his first tentative steps toward understanding. This wasn't the revenge I'd originally planned, but somehow it felt like an even better victory. Because sometimes the greatest transformation isn't in proving others wrong, but in helping them find their way to right. Mom? Sarah's voice wavered as she stood in Hope Haven's doorway. Aunt Violet said I might find you here. Laurel froze in the middle of helping Tommy with his math homework. Sarah, what are you— Can we talk? Sarah clutched her purse, looking smaller than her 26 years. Please? I nodded to Laurel from across the room, and she followed Sarah into my office. Through the window, I watched them sit, neither speaking at first. Quite a day for family reunions, Michaela said, joining me. Hugo's in the garden with Amy, learning about her butterfly project. Never thought I'd see that. People surprise you, I smiled. Speaking of surprises, how's the expansion planning going? Before she could answer, Sophie burst in. Ms. Violet, the Thompson Foundation called. They want to fund satellite locations. We could help 3 times as many kids. The office door opened. Sarah emerged, eyes red but smiling, Laurel's arm around her shoulders. Vi? Laurel called. Could you come here? Sarah has something to say. In my office, Sarah twisted her hands together. I've been watching Mom these past few months. How she changed working here. And I thought maybe I could volunteer too. It's not that simple, I said. This isn't just somewhere to find yourself. These kids need consistency, commitment. I know, Sarah interrupted. I've been sober for 2 months, going to meetings, getting counselling. I want to do better. Be better. Like Mom is learning to be. She means it, Vi, Laurel added softly. We both do. A commotion outside drew us to the window. Hugo was chasing Amy through the butterfly garden, both laughing as she sprayed him with the watering can. Who is that man and what has he done with our cousin? Laurel whispered. The same thing that happened to you, I replied. He let love in. Sarah watched the scene, tears in her eyes. I always thought we were better than everyone else. Our family, our money. But these kids have something we never had. What's that? I asked. Real connections, not just obligations. A knock at the door revealed Edmund, grinning broadly. Sorry to interrupt, but you all need to come to the living room. Now. We followed him to find the room packed with faces both old and new. Residents past and present, staff, volunteers, and in the centre, grandmother, sitting regally in her wheelchair. Well, she demanded, isn't anyone going to explain why this place feels more like home than my own house? Grandmother, I started, but she held up a hand. Let me finish. I've been watching Violet. Watching how you built something extraordinary from nothing but love and determination. Watching how you changed Laurel, Hugo. This whole family. She gestured to Sarah. Come here, child. You too, Laurel. Hugo, stop dripping water on my floor and join us. As my cousins gathered around her chair, Grandmother reached for my hand. I was wrong, she said simply. We were all wrong. Family isn't about carrying on bloodlines or meeting society's expectations. It's about creating spaces where people can grow, heal, and become their best selves. Group hug, Amy shouted, breaking the tension. She launched herself at Hugo, who caught her with practiced ease. Soon the room was a tangle of embraces, laughter, and tears. Sophie showing Sarah her medical school acceptance letter. Michaela discussing expansion plans with Edmund, Tommy explaining his math problems to a fascinated Hugo. Violet, Grandmother called over the happy chaos. Edmund tells me you're planning satellite locations? Yes, Good. The Family Foundation will match whatever the Thompson Foundation offers. It's time the Parker legacy stood for something more than social status. As the celebration continued, I found myself by the window watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colours. Alison appeared beside me, smiling. Remember when you just wanted revenge? She asked. This is better, I said. This is healing. Ms. Violet, Amy called. We need you for the photo. Grandmother says we have to replace that awful reunion picture with a real family portrait. As I joined the group, I saw what Grandmother meant. This was family. Not posed and proper, but real and messy and beautiful. Hugo with butterfly stickers on his suit, Laurel and Sarah holding hands, Michaela and Sophie supporting each other like the sisters they'd become. Amy perched on Edmund's shoulders. And me, in the middle of it all, exactly where I was meant to be. Everyone ready? The photographer asked. Wait! Amy adjusted her Hope Haven t-shirt. What should we say instead of cheese? How about family? Sarah suggested. Better yet, Grandmother said, her eyes twinkling. Let's say home. The camera flashed, capturing not just faces but the truth we'd all finally learned, that sometimes the family you choose becomes the family you needed all along. And that's not revenge, that's redemption.